Hello, Aesthete. That's how I pronounce your name. I'm not sure if that's right. By the way, Pyro is fine, but I believe the correct pronunciation is Pyro, but it doesn't. I like Pyro, so that's fine. The or Pi for sure. And so yeah, okay. Well, as I already answered in some comments, but really the last thing I think in your video, but the first thing I'll talk about is the poor people needing protection. The thing is, if a bunch of people get together and start giving their money to poor people in a society, let's say they run a company, they have a private food company, and they decide to give food away to the poor. Um, the money they spend doing that is money their competitors are going to spend marketing against them, improving their distribution network. And over centuries, or decades, the laws of evolution say that if you set up an environment that rewards one behavior and punishes another, that you will have that behavior become really strengthened, the rewarded behavior. That's just the way that it is. It doesn't matter if you're saying, no, hey, you can give away. I don't discourage you. It's like saying, oh, I don't discourage you from wearing a target on your shirt. Yes, there's a lot of people around here that'll shoot anybody with the target drawn on their shirt, but I don't discourage you. I think it's fine. I love those shirts. Go ahead. Over time, it's the systematics which discourage it. So that's one problem, is that you say, what's to stop us from banding together and doing something for the poor? Well, that's what we're doing. That system won't work for the poor, so we're fighting against it now, or arguing against it, I guess. But I say fighting because I think, there's a lot more of these elements of laissez-faire, screw you, you're on your own kind of attitudes in our system right now. We need less of them. I'm not even against that either. I believe in kill it or cure it. It has its place. It's just not right now in our economy because we've got too much of that. We're still going in the direction of getting better engineered, not throwing away what engineering we have. Now, on the subject of if you don't pay taxes, you go to jail. So the police force, right now, if you don't pay them taxes, then you're going to go to jail. Who said if I don't pay a private police force, I don't go to jail? But I don't understand that. I mean, if I've contractually agreed to pay this police force, let's say if you protect me for a month, I agree to pay you at the end of that month, and you protect me, and so I owe you that money. Because if I don't owe you the money, there's just no question. If you don't owe the taxes, you don't go to jail. So I owe the money. I don't go to jail. What happens? I don't have to pay my debts in a market anarchy. I don't go to jail. And if I do go to jail, who arrests me? And if a police force does something illegal, who arrests them? I'm kind of curious from one of you guys. I really was hoping Luke would come up with something like this, but I haven't gotten around to asking him specifically. But what does your government look like, Who arrests the police officers? Who breaks up a corrupt police department, say? Now, on the last point is profits, and you say everybody takes profits, including government. This is tricky. I agree with you because you can set up definitions however you want. Sometimes you have to be careful because you can define, and even mathematically, darkness as the absence of light, or light as the absence of dark. And they'll both work for most cases, but if you start getting really, really detailed in your analysis of the phenomena of darkness and light, you will find that the light is what exists and the darkness really is the absence of that light. Okay, so it may or may not be right in the long run to say that governments are in it for profit. That may or may not be the right way to think of the idea of profit, but it works mostly well enough that for the sake of argument, fine. The government is in it for a profit. The government is like a corporation that you are a shareholder in the moment you're born. It's not a government. it's a corporation that builds national infrastructure. And when you are born without any money, and this is why it's a special corporation, you automatically are a shareholder, and your share is a vote. And you can't sell that share, and this is also how it's different from a corporation. If we follow those differences, there might be enough differences that we just say, well, we don't really want to call it a corporation, and that's what we've done in this culture. I'm with you. Let's go the other way. Let's realize that it's, first of all, we're not governed. There is no government. You can only be governed if you consent to be governed, and I don't consent to be governed. I consent to be served by a common infrastructure. I'm fine with the fact that the infrastructure can arrest me, because if I want to have laws of the land, and if I decide to break them, I'm willing to say right now, screw that future self. He's on his own. He should be arrested. So, when the government takes profit, see, I'm a shareholder in that profit. So, that's the difference between the government profiting from security forces, is that I profit. Now, I'm also paying those taxes. So, that's a natural reason for for me not to want to maximize their profit, but rather optimize the profit compared to the costs. And of course, it's not really for profit alone. It's for systematics. If there's one police force and a hierarchy of police forces and organizations that have checks and balances on each other, that's easier to solve than if there's just a dozen private police forces and one is corrupt, and we have to figure out, well, who arrests them? Who has the right to arrest them? And it's an accusation, right? You have the trial afterwards. Somebody has to go and be arrested before you have the trial. So who has the right to do that, to make that discretion of those judgment calls before you have the final determination of justice? Our justice system answers those questions by having a common infrastructure, common justice infrastructure. With multiple justice systems, you need a third justice system of how do they all interact. Maybe you have an idea on that. Anyway, those are my answers to your video. Thanks for the reply.